He caught her wrist and pulled her onto the bed. "Stop running," he said, holding her beneath him. It was a quiet morning in the small town of Willow Creek. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a golden light across the streets and houses. Birds chirped in the trees, and the gentle rustle of leaves filled the air. In one modest house at the edge of town, a young woman named Sarah was already awake. She loved the mornings most of all, when the world felt calm and full of possibilities. Today, though, there was a hint of worry in her mind. Sarah lived with her grandmother who had raised her since she was a little girl. Her parents had passed away when she was very young, and while she had grown used to her quiet life, she sometimes felt a strong desire to explore more, to see what lay beyond the familiar streets and faces of her hometown. Still, responsibilities at home always seemed to tie her down. Her grandmother, kind but strict, needed her help with the house and the small garden that had been in their family for generations. As Sarah prepared breakfast, she thought about the day ahead. She had a few errands to run in town, and she hoped to meet her best friend Lena later. Lina was lively and cheerful, always bringing laughter and excitement wherever she went. The two had known each other since childhood, sharing secrets, dreams, and sometimes fears. Today, Sarah hoped to talk to Lena about a new idea that had been on her mind for weeks. After breakfast, Sarah dressed in her usual simple clothes and stepped outside. The air was crisp, and the scent of fresh flowers from the gardens along the streets made her feel alive. She walked slowly, enjoying the calmness of the morning, noticing the little things that often went unnoticed. The way sunlight touched the roof of the bakery, the sound of water from the small fountain in the town square, and the cheerful greetings of neighbors tending to their homes. When she reached the market, the town was beginning to stir with activity. Merchants were setting up their stalls, calling out to customers, arranging fresh fruits and vegetables, and displaying colorful fabrics and handmade crafts. Sarah liked visiting the market not only for the necessities she had to buy, but also because it reminded her of the energy and life outside her quiet home. She stopped at her favorite stall, run by an elderly man named Mr. Thompson. He always had a kind word for her, and often shared little stories about his own youth. "Good morning, Sarah," he said with a warm smile. "You look thoughtful today. Something on your mind?" "Just thinking about some plans I have," she replied. She didn't want to reveal too much. Not yet. Mr. Thompson nodded knowingly. Sometimes adults seem to understand more than they let on. After buying what she needed, Sarah continued her walk through the town. She noticed a few children playing near the fountain, their laughter ringing through the air. Their joy was contagious, and she felt a small smile appear on her face. It reminded her of simpler times, when life had been all games and stories, without the weight of responsibilities or the worry of the future. As she neared the small park where she was supposed to meet Lena, Sarah's thoughts wandered. She imagined what life could be like if she followed her dreams, perhaps studying in a distant city, meeting new people, experiencing adventures that went beyond the borders of Willow Creek. The thought both excited and frightened her. She loved her home, her grandmother, and the familiar streets. But the idea of seeing the world and finding her own place in it filled her with a sense of longing she could not ignore. Lena was already waiting when Sarah arrived. Her friend waved enthusiastically, and Sarah's heart lifted at the sight of her. Lena had a way of making everything feel brighter, even on the dullest days. The two hugged, and for a moment, all of Sarah's worries seemed to vanish. "Good morning," Lena said cheerfully. "I have a surprise for you today." Sarah's curiosity was immediately piqued.
A surprise?
"What is it?" "You'll see," Lena replied with a mischievous grin. "First, let's take a walk." "I want to show you something I found yesterday." The girls walked together through the park, their conversation flowing easily from one topic to another. They talked about school, their dreams, and small stories from their families. Sarah felt lighter with Lena by her side. She realized how important these moments were, the simple pleasures of friendship and shared laughter. When they reached a small clearing at the edge of the park, Lena stopped suddenly. She pointed to a path that led into a part of the forest the girls had never explored before. "I found this yesterday," she whispered excitedly. "It's beautiful. and I thought we could explore it together. The forest was quiet and slightly mysterious, but there was something inviting about it as well. She glanced at Lena, whose eyes sparkled with excitement. Taking a deep breath, Sarah nodded. Okay, let's go. The path was narrow and winding, covered with fallen leaves that crunched softly under their feet. Sunlight filtered through the trees, creating patterns of light and shadow on the ground. Birds flew overhead, and occasionally they saw a squirrel or rabbit scurrying among the branches. The girls moved carefully, talking in hushed voices so as not to disturb the calm of the forest. As they ventured deeper, they discovered a small stream, its water clear and sparkling in the sunlight. The gentle sound of the flowing water added to the magic of the place. Sarah bent down to touch it, feeling the coolness against her fingers. It was peaceful, almost like stepping into another world. This is amazing, Sarah said softly, looking around. I can't believe we never found this before. Lena smiled. Sometimes the best places are hidden, waiting for someone curious enough to find them. They spent the morning exploring the forest, discovering small wonders at every turn. Wildflowers of every color dotted the path, and butterflies flitted from one bloom to another. Sarah felt a sense of freedom she had rarely experienced, as if for the first time, the weight of her worries had lifted, even if just for a little while. Eventually, the girls found a large tree with a sturdy branch that stretched out over the stream. It looked like the perfect place to rest. They sat down, dangling their feet over the water, and watched the sunlight dance on the surface. Sarah felt a deep sense of contentment, grateful for this moment and for the friendship that made it possible. As they rested, they talked about their dreams for the future. Sarah shared her desire to see the world, to learn new things, and to find her own path in life. Lena listened intently, encouraging her and offering ideas she had never considered. For the first time in a long while, Sarah felt that her dreams were not impossible. She realized that with determination, courage, and support from those she loved, she could achieve things she had only imagined in quiet moments. The hours passed quickly, and soon the sun began to lower in the sky. The forest, once filled with golden light, now took on the soft hues of evening. The girls stood up, dusted off their clothes, and began the walk back home. Sarah felt a mixture of happiness and reluctance. She wished she could stay in that magical place forever, but she also knew that her life at home and the responsibilities she carried were waiting for her. As they reached the edge of the park, Lena turned to Sarah. I'm glad we did this today, she said warmly. We should explore more often. Yes, I'd like that. Thank you for bringing me here. I needed it more than I realized. They parted ways with a hug, promising to meet again soon. Sarah walked home with a light heart, feeling inspired and hopeful. She knew that the path ahead might be challenging, but today had reminded her that life was full of unexpected joys and opportunities waiting to be discovered. When Sarah reached home, her grandmother was tending to the garden, humming a soft tune. She looked up and smiled as Sarah approached. Did you have a good day? She asked. Yes, Sarah replied, her voice filled with warmth. A very good day. She helped her grandmother with the evening chores, but her mind kept drifting back to the morning's adventure. For the first time in a long while, Sarah felt a sense of purpose and excitement. She knew that she was ready to face the world, one step at a time, with courage, curiosity, and the support of those she loved. As night fell over Willow Creek, Sarah lay in bed thinking about all she had seen and felt that day. She closed her eyes, a small smile on her face, and whispered to herself, tomorrow is another chance to discover something new. And with that thought, she drifted into a peaceful sleep, dreaming of adventures yet to come, of paths yet to be walked, and of a life filled with hope, friendship, and endless possibilities. The next morning, Sarah woke up with the first rays of sunlight streaming through her window. The forest she had explored with Lena yesterday was still fresh in her mind. She could almost hear the sound of the stream and feel the soft rustle of leaves under her feet. Her heart felt lighter, filled with a kind of hope and excitement she hadn't felt in a long time. Today, she decided, she would not let the day pass by without doing something meaningful, something that could bring a new spark into her life. After quickly washing her face and brushing her hair, she went to the kitchen. where her grandmother was already busy preparing breakfast. The aroma of warm bread and freshly brewed tea filled the room. Her grandmother looked up, smiling warmly at her. "Good morning, Sarah. You seem very cheerful today. Did you sleep well?"
Yes, Grandma, Sarah replied, pouring herself some tea.
"I had a wonderful day yesterday. Lena and I discovered a small path in the forest, and it was beautiful. You should come with us next time." Her grandmother chuckled softly. "You girls and your adventures. I suppose I could join you one day. But for now, be careful. The forest may seem calm, but it can be unpredictable." Sarah nodded, her thoughts already drifting back to the forest. She wanted to tell her grandmother more, but she sensed that her grandmother preferred simple conversations in the mornings. After breakfast, she quickly finished her chores, eager to meet Lena again. When Sarah reached the park, Lena was already waiting, bouncing on her toes with excitement. "Good morning," Lena said. "I hope you slept well."
I have something to show you today, and I promise it's even more amazing than yesterday.
Sarah's curiosity piqued immediately. "What is it this time?" she asked, smiling. Lena simply shook her head, urging Sarah to follow her. They walked along the familiar path through the forest, but today Lena led Sarah deeper than they had ever gone before. The trees grew taller, the shadows longer, and the sounds of birds and insects filled the air in a more vibrant symphony. The sunlight barely touched the ground through the thick leaves, creating a magical, almost mysterious atmosphere. Sarah felt a little nervous, but Lena's excitement was contagious, and it made her feel safe. After some time, they reached a small clearing that neither of them had noticed before. In the center stood an old wooden bench, surrounded by flowers and vines. The place looked untouched, as if it had been waiting for someone to find it. A small stream ran nearby, its water glistening as it reflected the light. Sarah felt a sense of awe. "This is beautiful," she whispered. "It feels like a secret place, hidden from the world."
Yes, Lena said, sitting on the bench and patting the space next to her.
"I think this could be our special spot, a place where we can come whenever we need to think or just enjoy nature. We can make it ours." Sarah sat down, taking in the calm and the beauty. She realized how rare it was to find a place where time seemed to slow down, where she could forget her worries and just be. For a while they simply sat there, listening to the water, feeling the wind on their faces, and watching the sunlight dance through the trees. After a while, Lena pulled a small notebook from her bag. "I thought we could start writing our thoughts here," she said. "We can write about anything, our dreams, our stories, what we see around us. It can be a way to remember these moments."
Sarah's eyes lit up.
She loved writing, but she had never thought of doing it in a place like this. "That's a wonderful idea," she said. "We can fill it with all our adventures." For the next hour they wrote and sketched, capturing the beauty of the forest and their feelings. Sarah wrote about the sunlight on the stream, the sound of the birds and the gentle rustle of leaves. Lena drew the flowers, the butterflies, and even a small rabbit that peeked out from the bushes. Each page became a small treasure, a memory they could look back on for years to come. As they worked, Sarah realized that these moments were teaching her something important. Life was not just about responsibilities and routines. It was about noticing beauty, cherishing friendships, and following your curiosity. The forest, the notebook, and Lena's presence made her understand that even small steps toward her dreams could make a big difference in how she felt each day. After they had filled several pages, the girls leaned back, exhausted but happy. Sarah glanced around and noticed something she had not seen before, a small wooden sign partially hidden under leaves. Curious, she got up and brushed the leaves away. The sign had carved letters, "Willow Creek Nature Trail." "It seems someone created a trail here long ago," she said softly. "Maybe it was meant for people to explore and enjoy, just like us. I think we are lucky to have found it. Who knows what else is waiting for us further along the path?" The thought filled Sarah with excitement. She wanted to explore more, to see what other wonders were hidden in the forest. But she also knew it was getting late, and her grandmother would be expecting her home. Reluctantly, they gathered their things and began the walk back. On the way, they talked about their dreams and plans for the future. Lena shared her wish to become a teacher and travel to different towns to help children learn. Sarah shared her dream of seeing the world beyond Willow Creek, of learning new things and meeting people who could teach her about life in ways she had never imagined. The more they talked, the more Sarah realized that dreams were not as distant as they seemed. With determination, courage, and a little support from friends, anything could be possible. She felt inspired, more confident in herself, and ready to face the challenges that lay ahead. When they reached the edge of the forest, the warm glow of the evening sun greeted them. The town looked peaceful, almost as if it were waiting for their return. Sarah felt a gentle sense of contentment, knowing that while the forest held its secrets, she had discovered something even more valuable: the joy of friendship, the beauty of nature, and the courage to dream. As they parted ways, Lena gave Sarah a quick hug. "We'll come back tomorrow," she said. "And maybe the day after that, too. There's so much more to explore." Sarah nodded, smiling. "I can't wait. Thank you for bringing me here. I feel like a whole new world has opened up for me." Walking home, Sarah thought about the future and the possibilities it held. She realized that life was full of hidden paths, secret places, and opportunities waiting to be discovered. All she needed was courage, curiosity, and the willingness to take the first step. When she reached her house, her grandmother greeted her with a warm smile. "Did you enjoy your day?" she asked. "Yes, Grandma," Sarah replied. "It was amazing. Lena and I found a special place in the forest, and we even started a notebook to remember our adventures." Her grandmother nodded approvingly. "That sounds wonderful. It is important to cherish such moments. They teach you lessons you won't find in books or classrooms." Sarah helped her grandmother with the evening chores, but her mind kept drifting back to the forest. She felt a sense of anticipation for the days ahead, eager to explore, learn, and grow. The world seemed full of possibilities, and she knew that with her curiosity, determination, and the support of her friend, she could achieve things she had only dreamed of before. That night, as Sarah lay in bed, she thought about all she had experienced: the forest, the hidden stream, the flowers, the animals, and the notebook. All of it had opened her eyes to a world beyond the ordinary. She closed her eyes with a smile, feeling inspired, hopeful, and ready for the adventures that tomorrow might bring. Sarah woke up before sunrise again, but this time her heart felt different. Instead of calm excitement, she felt a quiet restlessness. Something inside her was changing, and she didn't fully understand it yet. The forest walks, the notebook, the hidden clearing, all of it had opened a door in her mind. She no longer wanted her life to feel small. She wanted to grow, learn, and discover who she truly was. She sat by her window and watched the sky slowly change colors, from deep blue to soft pink and gold. The town of Willow Creek was still asleep, but Sarah felt wide awake inside. She whispered to herself, "I want more from life." The words surprised her, but they also felt true. Downstairs, her grandmother was already awake preparing tea. She looked at Sarah closely and smiled gently. "You've been waking early every day," she said. "Something must be on your mind." Sarah hesitated, then sat at the table. "Grandma," she said softly, "have you ever wanted something more than what life gave you?" Her grandmother paused, stirring her tea slowly.
Everyone feels that way at some point, she replied. Wanting more doesn't mean you're unhappy.
"It means you're growing." Those words stayed with Sarah long after breakfast. Growing. Maybe that was what was happening. But growth often came with confusion, and Sarah felt both excited and unsure. Later that morning, she met Lena at the park as usual. Lena seemed full of energy, but when she saw Sarah's thoughtful expression, she tilted her head. "You look serious today," Lena said. "What's going on?"
I don't know, Sarah admitted.
"I just feel like something inside me is shifting. Like I want to do more with my life, but I don't know where to start." Lena smiled warmly.
That's not a bad feeling. It's the beginning of something new.
They walked toward their secret forest clearing. But today, the forest felt different. Not scary, just deeper. more meaningful. The sunlight filtered through the trees in soft patterns, and the air felt heavy with quiet thoughts. When they reached their bench near the stream, Sarah sat down and stared at the water.
I feel stuck, she said suddenly.
Not in a bad way. Just like I'm standing still while life is waiting for me to move. Lena listened carefully. Maybe you're not stuck, she said. Maybe you're just standing at the edge of something important. Sarah looked at her friend.
What do you mean? I mean, Lena continued, sometimes before change happens, people feel restless, like their heart is telling them it's time for something new.
Sarah thought about that. It made sense. Still, she felt unsure. But what if I make the wrong choice? She asked. What if I leave something good behind? Lena reached over and gently touched Sarah's hand.
Change doesn't mean losing everything.
Sometimes it just means adding something new. They took out their notebook and began writing again, but Sarah found it hard to focus. Her thoughts kept drifting. She wrote about feeling small inside a big world, about wanting to grow but fearing mistakes. Lena wrote encouraging words beside hers, reminding her that mistakes were part of learning. As they sat quietly, they heard footsteps nearby. Both girls looked up surprised. Very few people came this deep into the forest. A tall man in simple hiking clothes stepped into the clearing. He looked kind and calm, with gentle eyes and a friendly smile. "Oh, sorry," he said quickly. "I didn't mean to interrupt. I didn't know anyone came here." "That's okay," Sarah said politely. "We didn't know anyone else knew about this place." The man chuckled softly. "I found this trail years ago. I come here when I need peace." "Do you live in Willow Creek?" "Yes," he replied. "My name is Daniel. I teach at the community center." Sarah's ears perked up. "Teach what?" "Mostly reading, writing, and life skills," Daniel said. "I work with people who want to improve their future but don't know where to start." Sarah felt something stir inside her. That sounds meaningful. Helping someone believe in themselves is one of the most powerful things in the world. They talked for a few minutes, and Sarah found herself opening up without meaning to. She told Daniel about her love for writing, her curiosity about the world, and her fear of making the wrong choices. Daniel listened carefully, never interrupting, his expression thoughtful. "You remind me of many people I've met," he said finally. "People who feel ready for more but don't know how to take the first step." Sarah nodded.
That's exactly how I feel.
"Then maybe your first step isn't leaving everything behind. Maybe it's learning more about yourself." Before leaving, Daniel mentioned that the community center was starting a small workshop program for young adults who wanted to explore skills like writing, communication, and planning for the future.
You should come, he said. No pressure.
Just learning and discovering. Sarah felt nervous but excited.
I'll think about it, she said.
After he left, Lena turned to Sarah, eyes bright. That felt important. "Yes," Sarah whispered. It really did. The walk home felt different from usual. Sarah's mind was filled with new thoughts, a workshop, a place where she could learn, a chance to grow without leaving home. It felt like a bridge between her old life and the new one she dreamed of. That afternoon, Sarah couldn't stop thinking about Daniel's words. Helping someone believe in themselves, learning more about yourself. The ideas echoed in her heart. She found herself standing outside the community center without even realizing how she got there. The building was simple but welcoming. Through the windows, she saw people talking, laughing, and working together. Something about it felt warm and alive. Her heart pounded as she opened the door. Inside, a kind woman greeted her. "Hello. Can I help you?" "I heard about the workshops," Sarah said shyly. "I was wondering if I could learn more."
Of course, the woman said brightly.
We start next week. Writing, communication, planning, and confidence building. You're very welcome.
Sarah took the flyer with trembling hands. Walking back home, she felt both scared and proud. She had taken her first real step. That evening, she told her grandmother everything. The forest, Daniel, the workshop, and her dreams. Her grandmother listened quietly, her eyes gentle but thoughtful. "You sound like someone standing at the door of her future," her grandmother said.
I'm afraid, Sarah admitted. What if I fail?
Failure doesn't mean falling down. It means learning where to stand better next time. Those words comforted Sarah deeply. The next few days passed slowly. Sarah found herself thinking constantly about the workshop. Part of her wanted to stay in her safe routine, but another part whispered, "Go. Try. Grow." When the first workshop day finally arrived, Sarah almost stayed home. Her hands shook as she held the flyer. Her heart raced. But then she remembered the forest, the stream, Daniel's words, Lena's encouragement, and her grandmother's wisdom. She went. The community center classroom was filled with about 10 people, all different ages and backgrounds. Some looked confident. Others looked nervous, just like her. Daniel stood at the front, smiling warmly. "Welcome," he said. "This isn't about being perfect. It's about discovering what you're capable of." Those words eased Sarah's fear. The first activity was simple. Write a paragraph about something that makes you feel alive. Sarah wrote about the forest, the quiet, the sunlight, the way it made her feel brave. When Daniel asked volunteers to share, Sarah's heart pounded, but somehow she raised her hand. As she read aloud, her voice trembled at first, but then it grew steadier. The room was silent, listening. When she finished, people smiled. "That was beautiful," someone said. "Very vivid," another added. Sarah felt warmth rush through her chest. For the first time, she felt seen. After class, Daniel approached her. "You have a natural voice," he said. "Not just in writing, in expressing yourself." "Thank you," she replied softly, surprised by her own smile. When she met Lena later that day, she couldn't stop talking. "It was amazing," she said. "I was scared, but I felt like I belonged." Lena hugged her.
I knew it. You're changing.
"Yes," Sarah said, "and I think I like it." Over the next week, Sarah attended every workshop session. She learned how to organize her thoughts, express her ideas, and believe in herself. More importantly, she learned that growth didn't happen overnight. It happened slowly, through effort, courage, and patience. Still, not everything felt easy. One evening she returned home exhausted and doubtful. "What if I'm not good enough?" she asked her grandmother. "What if this is just a phase?" Her grandmother took her hands. "Every strong tree begins as a small seed," she said. "Growth doesn't always feel powerful at first. Sometimes it feels uncertain." One afternoon, Sarah and Lena returned to their forest clearing. The stream shimmered in the sunlight, just as it always had. But Sarah realized something. She was not the same person who first sat on that bench. "I feel different," she said softly. "Not completely, but stronger." "That's because you are," Lena replied. "You took a step." Sarah smiled. "And now I want to take more." She took out their notebook and wrote a new entry. "I don't know where my path leads yet, but I know I'm walking it. And for the first time, I'm not afraid of the unknown." As she closed the notebook, Sarah felt something she hadn't felt before. Confidence. Not loud confidence. Not bold confidence. But quiet, steady belief. She wasn't lost anymore. She was becoming. The morning sun shone brightly over Willow Creek, but Sarah felt a different kind of warmth in her heart today. It wasn't just the sunlight or the gentle breeze. It was a sense of purpose. She had been attending the community center workshops for a few weeks now, and though each day brought its own small struggles, she could feel herself growing stronger and more confident. Each lesson, each conversation, and even the mistakes she made were slowly shaping her into someone she didn't quite recognize yet. Someone braver, more determined, and alive. That morning, Sarah decided to take a longer walk through the forest before heading to the workshop. She wanted to clear her mind and think about the changes she was feeling. As she walked, the familiar path of fallen leaves crunched beneath her feet. The sunlight filtered through the branches, and the gentle sound of the stream guided her steps. She noticed things she hadn't before. The way a spider's web glistened with dew, the soft hum of insects hidden among the flowers, and the delicate rustle of small animals moving through the underbrush. Every small detail reminded her that life was full of tiny wonders, waiting to be seen. When she reached their secret clearing, she found Lena already there, sketching in their notebook. Her friend looked up and smiled. "Morning. I saved a spot for you," she said, patting the bench.
Sarah sat down, taking a deep breath.
"I was thinking," she began, "how much I've changed in just a few weeks. It's like I'm seeing life in a way I couldn't before."
I know what you mean. It's exciting, but also a little scary, isn't it?
"Yes," Sarah admitted. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm ready for all these changes."
What if I fail? What if I can't keep up? You're stronger than you think, Lena said.
"And even if you stumble, you'll get back up. That's what makes growth real." Lena's words always seemed to give her the courage she needed. But today, as they looked around the forest, Sarah noticed something unusual. A tree that had stood tall and strong near the stream seemed to have fallen in the night, its branches lying across the path. "Oh no," Sarah said, stepping closer. "This is going to make the trail hard to walk." Lena frowned. "We'll have to find another way around." They carefully climbed over the fallen tree, laughing at their awkwardness, but Sarah couldn't shake the thought that change wasn't always gentle or predictable. Just as the forest had surprises and challenges, life did too. She felt a small shiver of realization. Growth was not only about learning or discovering new things. It was also about facing obstacles and learning to navigate them with courage. Later that morning, they arrived at the community center. Daniel greeted Sarah warmly. "Good morning. Ready for a new challenge today?" Sarah nodded, curious. "What is it?"
Today, we're going to focus on storytelling, Daniel said.
"Not just writing stories, but understanding how to share experiences in a way that touches others. You'll learn to take your personal journey and turn it into something meaningful." Sarah felt a thrill of excitement. Storytelling had always fascinated her, but she had never thought of it as a way to express her own growth. As the class began, Daniel guided them through exercises that required deep thought and reflection. At first, Sarah hesitated. Sharing personal experiences was difficult, especially ones that felt raw or uncertain. But as she began to write, she realized that the forest, the stream, the workshops, and her friendship with Lena had given her countless stories to tell. By the end of the session, she had written a short piece about discovering the forest path, the secret clearing, and the feelings of courage and fear she experienced along the way. When she read it aloud to the class, her voice shook slightly at first, but the faces of the listeners, attentive, supportive, and encouraging, gave her strength. She finished the story, and the room erupted in gentle applause. "That was beautiful, Sarah," Daniel said. "You've captured the journey of discovery perfectly." Remember, storytelling is not just about events. It's about emotion, growth, and connection. And you've done all of that. Walking home after class, Sarah felt a mixture of pride and exhaustion. The applause, the kind words, and the sense of accomplishment made her feel alive. But deep down, she knew that growth was not only about recognition. It was also about the quiet moments, the struggles, and the reflections that no one else might see. That evening, she and Lena returned to their forest clearing. The stream glistened in the soft light of the setting sun, and the air was filled with the songs of birds returning to their nests. They sat quietly for a moment, letting the sounds of nature fill the space around them. "I think today was the hardest day so far," Sarah said softly. "Not because of anything bad, but because I felt everything at once. Excitement, fear, pride, and doubt."
That's growth. It's not always easy.
"Sometimes it feels heavy, but it's always worth it." Sarah looked at the stream, thinking about the fallen tree, the new exercises, and her own progress. She realized that obstacles were not meant to stop her. They were meant to teach her how to keep moving forward, even when the path seemed unclear. As they walked back home, Sarah found herself reflecting on her life in Willow Creek. She had always loved her town, her grandmother, and the forest paths she knew so well. But now she realized that love for home didn't mean fear of change. The forest had shown her that there was beauty in exploration, courage in facing challenges, and strength in friendship. The next few days brought new lessons and small surprises. In the workshop, Sarah learned about planning projects and setting small, achievable goals. She began keeping a daily journal, not just about the forest and her friendships, but also about her dreams, fears, and the steps she was taking toward them. She discovered that by breaking her goals into smaller pieces, she could approach them with confidence rather than fear. One afternoon, during a workshop exercise on communication, Sarah was asked to share a personal challenge she had overcome. She thought about the fallen tree in the forest, the fear she felt when approaching new experiences, and the doubts she had about the workshop itself. She spoke slowly, her voice gaining strength as she continued. When she finished, the class responded with smiles and encouragement. For the first time, she felt the true power of her own voice, that it could reach others, inspire them, and even make her feel stronger within herself. Back in the forest, Sarah and Lena began planning a small project. They decided to create a guide for exploring the forest paths, including sketches, descriptions, and stories from their own experiences. They wanted to share the beauty of the place with others, hoping that it would inspire other young people to explore, reflect, and grow just as they had. "Think of it as our way of helping others," Lena said.
Just like Daniel helps people at the community center.
Sarah smiled. Yes. And it will remind us of how far we've come, too. Over the next few days, the girls worked diligently, sketching maps, writing descriptions, and collecting observations from the forest. They faced challenges. Some paths were hard to draw, some details were difficult to capture, and sometimes they disagreed about how to present things. But each obstacle became an opportunity to practice patience, teamwork, and creativity. Through this project, Sarah realized that growth wasn't just about personal development. It was also about giving back, sharing what you've learned, and helping others along the way. The forest, once a quiet place of escape, had become a classroom, a canvas, and a bridge to new experiences. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Sarah sat on their bench by the stream, notebook in hand. She reflected on the journey she had taken so far, the early mornings, the workshops, the storytelling exercises, the lessons in courage, and the friendship that had guided her. She felt a deep sense of gratitude.
"I'm not the same person I was a month ago," she whispered to herself. "And that's okay."
I'm learning to grow, to face challenges, and to believe in myself. Lena joined her, leaning on the bench. "You've grown so much, Sarah. I can see it in how you walk, how you talk, and how you think." Sarah laughed softly. "I still have a long way to go, but at least I'm moving forward." The fallen tree that had once blocked their path was now a memory, a lesson, and a symbol of the obstacles that could be overcome. The forest had taught them that growth came with effort, reflection, and courage. And most importantly, that no challenge was too big when faced with determination, friendship, and hope. As night fell over Willow Creek, Sarah felt a quiet peace. The day had been full of lessons, achievements, and reflection. She understood now that life would not always be easy, and obstacles would appear, just like the fallen tree in the forest. But she also knew that every challenge was an opportunity to learn, grow, and move closer to her dreams. With a heart full of hope, a mind filled with ideas, and a spirit strengthened by experience, Sarah closed her notebook and whispered to herself, "Tomorrow is another step, and I am ready." And with that thought, she walked home with Lena, feeling the quiet satisfaction of progress, the excitement of what was yet to come, and the confidence that she could face anything life placed in her path. The sun rose over Willow Creek, spilling golden light across the rooftops and streets. Sarah woke with a sense of purpose stronger than ever. Today felt different. She wasn't just walking into the forest or heading to a workshop. She felt like she was stepping into the life she had been quietly dreaming about for months. The days of uncertainty, fear, and doubt seemed to have shaped her into someone more confident, someone ready to embrace the future. After breakfast with her grandmother, Sarah kissed her on the cheek and stepped outside. Her heart raced, but it was a good feeling, a mixture of excitement and calm determination. She walked through the streets of Willow Creek, greeting neighbors with a cheerful smile, feeling connected to her home yet eager to explore beyond it. She could feel how much she had changed, even in small ways. Her posture was straighter, her steps lighter, and her mind sharper, full of ideas and plans. When she arrived at the park, Lena was already waiting, notebook in hand. Her friend's eyes sparkled with excitement.
Good morning! Are you ready for our big day? She asked.
Sarah grinned. I've been ready for this all week. They walked together to their forest clearing, their secret place that had become a classroom, a canvas, and a source of courage. The stream sparkled as sunlight danced on its surface, and the flowers swayed gently in the morning breeze. Everything seemed familiar and yet somehow different, more alive, more meaningful. Today was the day they would present their project to the community center. The guide they had been working on for weeks, with maps, sketches, and stories about the forest paths, was finally complete. They had poured their hearts into it, overcoming challenges, learning teamwork, and discovering skills they didn't know they had. For Sarah, this project symbolized everything she had learned: courage, creativity, and the power of persistence. As they prepared to leave for the community center, Sarah felt a flutter of nerves. What if they don't like it? She whispered to Lena. They will, Lena said confidently. And even if they don't, it doesn't matter. Look how far we've come. That's what counts. Sarah nodded, taking a deep breath. Lena was right. She thought about every small step she had taken, attending workshops, writing in the notebook, facing her fears, climbing over fallen trees, and expressing herself in front of strangers. Each step had led to this moment.
At the community center, Daniel greeted them warmly. Good morning.
I hear you have a special project to share today, he said. Yes, Sarah replied, trying to sound confident. We want to share our guide to the forest paths and our experiences exploring them. Daniel smiled. I'm excited to see it. The classroom was filled with people of all ages. Some students, some volunteers, and even a few community members who had heard about the project.
Sarah felt a rush of nervousness, but she steadied herself by remembering the lessons she had learned.
Growth was not about perfection. It was about courage, effort, and honesty. Lena began presenting the sketches, showing the paths, the flowers, and the stream. Sarah followed, reading the stories aloud. The discovery of the secret clearing, the fallen tree they had climbed over, the quiet moments of reflection, and the lessons they had learned about courage and friendship. As she spoke, she could feel the audience leaning in, listening, and connecting with her words. When they finished, the room erupted in applause. Daniel beamed. This is outstanding work, he said. Not just because of the guide itself, but because of what it represents. Growth, creativity, and courage. You two have shown that exploration is not just about finding new places, but about discovering your own potential. Sarah felt a wave of pride and gratitude wash over her. For the first time, she realized that her journey was not only about herself. It was about sharing what she had learned, inspiring others, and creating something that could bring joy and knowledge to the community. After the presentation, several people came up to talk to Sarah and Lena. One woman, a teacher, said she wanted to bring her students to the forest to explore and learn, just like Sarah and Lena had. Another student asked if he could borrow the notebook to write his own forest stories. Each conversation made Sarah's heart swell with happiness. She had never imagined that their little project could have such an impact. Walking home that afternoon, Sarah felt a calm sense of fulfillment. The forest had taught her many lessons: patience, observation, courage, and friendship. The community center had given her tools to express herself, plan for the future, and believe in her own abilities. And Lena had been by her side through every step, a reminder that growth was sweeter when shared with someone you trust. That evening, Sarah returned to her forest clearing alone. The sun was low, casting a warm golden glow over the stream and trees. She sat on the bench, notebook in hand, and reflected on how far she had come. I was scared at first, she whispered to herself. I didn't know if I could do it. But every step, every small choice led me here. She thought about the fallen tree, the first workshop day, her nervousness while reading aloud, and all the quiet mornings spent observing the forest. Each memory was a reminder of her journey. Not just the achievements, but the effort, courage, and persistence behind them. Sarah opened the notebook and began writing one last entry for their forest guide project. Life is full of paths, some clear and some hidden. Each path teaches us something about ourselves. Courage comes in small steps, and growth happens quietly, in moments we sometimes do not notice. Friendship, support, and determination make the journey easier and more meaningful. The forest has shown me that discovery is not just about seeing new places. It is about seeing the strength inside ourselves. She closed the notebook and looked at the stream, feeling a sense of peace she had never known before. She knew that this was not the end of her journey. Life would continue to bring challenges, obstacles, and uncertainties. But now she had confidence, experience, and a heart ready to face whatever came her way. The next morning, Sarah walked to the community center with a new sense of excitement. She was no longer nervous about learning or sharing. She was eager to take on new challenges, explore new ideas, and continue growing. The workshops had become a part of her life, not as a duty, but as a passion, a way to connect with others, discover her potential, and make a positive impact. In the following weeks, Sarah and Lena continued their work in the forest, expanding the guide and helping other young people explore and reflect. Sarah noticed that her confidence had grown in ways she hadn't imagined. She could speak in front of people without fear, organize her thoughts clearly, and take initiative in planning projects. More importantly, she had learned that failure and fear were not obstacles. They were teachers, guiding her toward growth. One evening, as Sarah and Lena sat by the stream watching the sunset, Sarah reflected on her journey. I used to think that life was something that just happened, she said softly. But now I know that we can shape it step by step with courage, curiosity, and effort. And we don't have to do it alone. Friends, family, and mentors make the journey richer. Sarah nodded, feeling gratitude for everyone who had guided her. Her grandmother, Lena, Daniel, and even the forest itself. Each had played a role in shaping her, teaching her lessons, and helping her grow. As the sky turned pink and gold, Sarah knew that her journey was far from over. There were more paths to explore, more skills to learn, and more dreams to pursue. But she felt ready. She had the courage, knowledge, and heart to face the future, whatever it might hold. Returning home that night, Sarah felt a quiet sense of triumph. Not because she had completed a project or been recognized for her efforts, but because she had discovered something far more important: her own strength, her own voice, and the ability to shape her life with intention and courage. Her grandmother smiled at her from the kitchen doorway. You look different tonight, Sarah. Stronger, perhaps? Sarah nodded.
Yes, I feel stronger.
And ready for whatever comes next.
Her grandmother took her hand gently.
Remember, every journey begins with a single step, and you've already taken many. Keep going, my dear. The world is waiting for you. Sarah went to bed that night feeling calm, proud, and inspired. She reflected on the lessons of the forest, the workshops, and the friendships she had formed. She knew that growth was a continuous journey, but she also knew that she was ready to meet it head-on. Before closing her eyes, she whispered one final thought. This is only the beginning. Tomorrow, I will continue to grow, explore, and discover the best version of myself. And with that, Sarah drifted into a peaceful sleep, dreaming not just of the forest and the stream, but of a future filled with possibilities, courage, friendship, and endless adventures waiting to be discovered.